The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to you, Lord.
An argument started between the disciples about which of them was the greatest. And Jesus knew what their thoughts were that were going through their minds. And he took a little child and set him by his side, and said to them, "Anyone who welcomes this little child in my name welcomes me. And anyone who welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me. For the least among you all, that one will be the greatest." And John spoke up. "Master," he said, "we saw a man casting out devils in your name, and because he was not with us, we tried to stop him." But Jesus said to him, "You must not stop him. Anyone who is not against you is for you." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise be to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
This week we have one of the most magnificent books in the Bible. It will be interrupted by several of the feasts that we will have, but the book is so magnificent. It answers the single question that most people ask at some stage in their life. If God is so good, how come there's such suffering in our world? In theology, we call that the question of theodicy. The goodness of God and the suffering of humanity. I am sure you've asked that question at some stage in your life. And I'm sure at some stage when you've gone through some suffering, you have asked yourself, but how could God claim to be my Father and I suffering so badly? And that question about God's goodness or God's justice and humanity's suffering is what the book of Job is attempting to answer. And the answer is eloquent. It is absolutely eloquent. A few things about the book of Job. One is that, not everything is history. Sometimes you read good literature that stirs you to understanding and brings insight in ways that is far beyond. But not everything is history. So we can't ask Job and the book of Job the questions we ask of history. We have to ask Job and the book of Job the questions we ask of wisdom. And that's different. And for the ancient people, wisdom literature was of a higher value than historical literature, because it takes the lessons of history and it draws from it the most important things inside of it. So let's remember that to start. And the second thing I want to give you as a warning before we jump into the text is that the idea of Satan, or a Satan, is not the guy with the horns, tail, fork that we have come to depict or imagine through Christianity. In the time before Jesus, and even in Jesus' time, remember Jesus calls Peter a Satan. "Get behind me, you are a Satan," a tempter, someone who is asking hard questions, someone who is interrogating, and a challenger. And we have to hear in the book of Job that the Satan is not the creature from the nether regions of hell, but a part of God's court who is testing and challenging human beings to bring about righteousness and goodness too. So with those two things, let's jump in. So it starts with the sons of God came to attend to the Lord, and among them there was Satan, this challenger. And the conversation in the heavenly court begins. And this conversation is all about righteousness and the true quality of righteousness. So he asked, "Where have you been?" And he says, "Oh, I was roaming around the world." He said, "Have you seen my servant Job?" And God is clearly very proud of Job. And Satan says, "Yes. But Job is not God-fearing for nothing, is he? Have you put a wall around his house and all his domain. You have blessed all he undertakes, and his flocks and throngs and countryside. But stretch out your hand and lay a finger on his possessions. I warrant you, he will curse you. And this is the whole theme of the book of Job. Many people believe that the book of Job is really a challenge of Job, and our eyes drift to the suffering of Job because you and I, we could identify with that. When you suffer and are innocent, that's one of the most difficult things to really ever hold in your head. And so we tend to drift to Job's part of the equation. But I think the book of Job is more about God and the nature of God and the nature of the God-human relationship. And it is in that God-human relationship that we start to tease the book out. And there's a third dimension. So it's about the justice of God. Is God really just? Because if you are innocent and you know yourself to be innocent and you have suffered, is God really just? And that's the question that the book is posing constantly. The other side of the book is the human being. If I am righteous and I'm really righteous and I'm suffering, how could I talk about a just God? And the third part of the book is about retribution, because there was a retribution principle that operated from Deuteronomy onwards. And it said simply that righteousness prospers and wickedness suffers. Now, that is a simple formulation. The opposite of it is what many people started to infer, that if somebody is prosperous, it means they must be righteous, and if somebody is suffering, it means that they must be wicked. And you see that operating in the Gospels with the man born blind, where they say to him, who has sinned? Is it you or is it your parents? Because if somebody is born blind, suffering, therefore somebody had to sin, because if somebody didn't sin, then we'll have to see God as capricious or unjust at the worst. And therefore, if people's suffering have nothing to do with their state of righteousness, it really speaks about a God that cannot be trusted. And that's really where the focus of the book of Job is. It's about God. And how do we trust God, especially when we're suffering. So the triangle, and I want you to think this triangle. Is God really just? Is Job really righteous? Can we really hold this principle that righteousness prospers and wickedness suffers? And that's the big tension in the whole of the book of Job. Something has to give, because you can't hold the three together. And it's how it gives is what makes the book so magnificent. So here in our text, the other wager with Satan and God is that, is righteousness for its own sake? Oh, this is a hard one, eh? Or is righteousness because there is something in it for the person who is being righteous? I want to hear this one, because this one is a hard one. What's in it for me? You see, if I am being righteous because there's something in it for me, prosperity, then am I really being righteous? That's the tough question at the very core of the book. Because it's one thing to be righteous and you're going to have pleasure, prosperity, blessings beyond. That's one thing. It's another thing to be righteous and to suffer. That's different. So the question that the challenger is posing in the text is Job disinterested, or is Job self-interested? Is Job's righteousness a result of his self-interest, or is Job's righteousness a result of disinterest? And whether or not fortunes are good or fortunes are bad, Job will continue to be righteous. That is the question. And that's the most difficult, torturous human question that you can ever have. I want you to think of somebody who has lived a really great life and been doing good and good in the community, and things are going good with them, and everything around them looks really, really good and hunky-dory. And all of a sudden they get accused and they get taken to prison and they get convicted. But that person knows themselves to be innocent. And you only have one person who knows innocence or guilt, and that's you. Because if there was nobody there, if there's nobody witnessing, if nobody saw anything, it's only you that really know the true state of your soul. And there's so many movies about that. And the torture is not just the torture of prison, the torture of what society says, the torture of how people are looking at you now, the torture of being considered a murderer. The torture is that all of these things are happening while you know yourself to be innocent. And that's the torture, the drama at the heart of Job. And that drama is what is being played out here in our text. So Job has incredible blessings. And the rest of our text today is everybody coming, and I alone was left to tell the tale. Calamity after calamity after calamity after calamity. So remember in the beginning, God is attesting to the righteousness of Job. Calamity after calamity comes. Satan says, if Job experiences all of that calamity, he will curse you. He will curse you. All of the calamity comes, one after the other. He loses everything, including his children, including livestock, wealth, possessions, everything is gone. And the text simply says, Job rose, he tore his gown, he shaved his head, then falling to the ground, he worshipped and said, he worshipped and said, naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I shall return. The Lord gives, the Lord has taken back. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Now, brothers and sisters, he did not know Jesus Christ. He didn't see the cross as a high point of love. He didn't have before him an image of a God who has suffered in extremity for our sake. He didn't understand the salvific nature of suffering because of the cross of Christ. He didn't have none of that. But all he had was a sense of righteousness before God, and a sense that God is not the one to be accused here. That's all he has. And so he says, naked I come from my mother's womb, and naked I will return. I came with nothing, I return with nothing. The Lord has given, the Lord has taken back. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And here's a challenge for Job to you now and to me. When we suffer, could we be as disinterested as Job is here? Could we really, really objectively say, well, the Lord giveth, the Lord taketh, blessed be the name of the Lord. When we suffer, do we get down and worship God, or do we start accusing God? You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about? How could you do this to me? Look how much time I pray rosary. Look how much I do in the church. Look how much I do. Look how much I give to you. Look how much this. Look how much that. How could you do this to me? And we start raising our fists against God and railing against God and accusing God. That's what Job doesn't do. That's what Job doesn't do. That's where Job does not go. Job does not go into the accusation of God. All Job does was simply say, God gives, God takes, blessed be the name of the Lord. And he does it in an act of worship. And what does that say? That says that even in the great calamity of Job's life, Job worshipped God. And if Job could worship God without all that we have in Jesus Christ, why is it when suffering comes to us, we want to accuse God? We want to blame God, shame God, walk away from God, become angry with God, and turn against God. Why? What gives us the right to become the judge and the jury in the case of God? What gives us the right? Well, Job is an incredible text. So hold on, because this week we will explore more of him. Amen.